we don't have Katie Hoffman or Jen Brown with us today. And we have Corey joining us, just not displayed on the screen. I think that takes care of everything. So we'll start off today with our land acknowledgement. Bear with me here. On this June 15th, 2022, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral land and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Very well written. So we'll just start off today with any amendments to the agenda. Is there anything anybody? Corey, I'll just confirm with you. Is there anything you would like?
No, nothing.
Nothing? Okay, disclosures of conflicts of interest. Does anyone have anything to disclose? Nope. All right, I think that wraps that up. So adoption of minutes, and I'm seeing that we have none to adopt this morning. Nadine, does that still stand?
That's correct, and because we don't have quorum, we can't proceed with that at this point in time anyhow, so.
Right. All right, we have no delegations this morning, nor do we have any correspondence items to discuss. So we'll move right into our priority issues, and we have one major priority issue today, being the work plan, and I will turn things over to Nadine to lead us in that discussion. So Nadine, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'll just share my screen. Hope everyone could see the plan on the screen. Is that okay? Everyone can see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we just took the plan and updated it with some of the outcomes of last week. So a couple of things. Oh, I think we have Kevin joining actually.
Okay.
So Chair Bingley, we now have Kevin McCormick on the line. He's just attending by telephone.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Welcome, Kevin. Nice to have you on this morning.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just going to make note that Kevin joined at 9:06. So basically, again, we just went through the document. So the first page, I thought maybe we'd just kind of go through some of the items. We're just seeking committee's input and additions, deletions, and then we're seeking your direction on when you'd like this to come to council for presentation. So on the first page, as I noted, this was a template that I think I know that Lorraine and Katie Hoffman did extensive work on. And part of the, a couple of the items I believe were from another municipality. So we had looked at those to establish our own provisions for that. But on the first page, there was a note, our goal, a safe and accessible community, which certainly is a great statement. So I didn't know if you wanted to keep that, as well as you could keep that and add our vision from our terms of reference, or you could delete one or the other. So those are just some suggestions there. As noted, the goal was in the original document, and then the vision is from our terms of reference. So just seeking the committee's decision on how they'd like to include that, if they'd like both or one or the other.
I like both.
Great.
I think both are good. Certainly think the vision should be forefront on there. Anybody else have any suggestions? Just having trouble see it with the screen sharing. I'm unable to see some of the members, so just feel free to speak.
I think we should leave both in.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, both.
Okay, so Madam Chair, that's great. Thank you for that. We'll make sure that they're both included. So then further down, everything else here is the same. The council commitment that was originally wrote when the document was prepared for us. I don't know if when you reviewed it, if there was anything in there that you thought should be changed. And we've included a picture of our downtown.
Nadine?
Yes, Councillor Allen?
The only thing that I would like to mention to the committee as we go through this is we as a council are going through our strategic plan priorities, and the document that we have is just for 2022. But I'm thinking as we go through here, maybe as a committee, we should be thinking of those things we want council, the next council, to add to those priorities. Because the only one right now in this one is under strategic priority 3, transportation. And it's to improve Old Sly's pedestrian accessibility. But all of the other ones, in my view anyway, have not mentioned accessibility in their priority listing. And I know that this is the end of this year, like the next council will be dealing with this next set of years, 4 years. So it just might be something to think of as we go through, because I think our document speaks to what we want, but it should also then transfer into the priorities of the council and making things happen. If people agree with me.
Yeah, I do strongly agree. I think that's a great idea. Great next step to move forward. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if that's something that we would include. I'm just going to scroll down. Sorry if that's bothering anyone's eyes. At the end where we have the recommendations for council for consideration, we have some items here, but I'm wondering if we should include consultation with the accessibility committee during the strategic plan process.
Yes.
Yeah,
What do you think, Chris?
Okay.
I think that would be a really good thing to do.
yeah. I think that would be a good place to add that for sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll make note of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So then, there's the rest has pretty much remained the same. The history that Councillor Allen and Katie prepared. I think we went through all this last time, the map, mission statement, all those things were taken from our terms of reference. There's some pictures that have been added. So if there's any input there, a lot of the pictures are ones that actually Jennifer took when she did the review of the accessibility review for our Accessibility Week promotion material. So we'll put a note in there that many of the pictures are taken by Jennifer. This is the commitment, you know, that you would create a multi-year accessibility plan and the objectives of the plan. Then it speaks to some of the barriers and gives definitions of that and the methodology.
Mhm.
The next page is the legislative background with respect to Ontario's with Disabilities Act, and where it denotes that you should have a committee. And I think it's great to remind everyone that this committee in Smiths Falls was formed, even though there was no requirement under our population. We didn't need to have one, but this was brought forward to council, and our council has been very progressive to ensure that we have a very inclusive community. So our committee was established. So it speaks to Ontario Building Code, Ontario Human Rights, and another picture of our beautiful downtown. And this is where it gets a bit more personal. And this is, you know, what you as a committee have achieved. And so it's nice to show that to council. So I don't know, I think we've captured everything here, but if there's anything that you think we've missed, there's been a lot of projects that you've been consulted on through Public Works and Community Services, and that will continue as we do more projects. Some of the accomplishments, you know, you recognize Red Shirt Day, you proclaim Accessibility Week, you promoted Accessibility Week in 2021 and 2022 through the social media platform, which again should be, you know, recognized because we were living through COVID when we couldn't really do a lot, and this committee still did a lot to ensure that it was promoted. And as well as you supported accessibility Halloween initiatives. So we added a few pictures there to make it a bit personal to show this committee. And then municipal achievements. This was something that was taken, I know that there was some desire to include some of the properties in Smiths Falls that had achieved accessibility, or, you know, ensured that there was accessibility was incorporated in their developments. And because there's so many going on, we looked at maybe broadening that statement just to say that the committee applauds the town of Smiths Falls on their commitment to achieve accessibility in many areas. The committee is also proud of the initiatives led by many private property owners to ensure that their development is accessible. And that was just kind of a broad statement, so we didn't miss anyone, because there has been a lot, and there continues to be a lot of development that comes forward where council wants to ensure that there's accessible features. So just wondering what the committee thinks of that statement.
Councillor Allen, I can see your hand.
I'm going to apologize if that phone rings again.
Oh,
I'm
no
in
problem.
the office, so it does ring. But there are two groups right now that are working on new builds that are very accessible. And I think maybe we would like to actually do a shout out to them, because the new one that's going on Chambers Street, it was an industrial site, and now Lindsay Blair's company is building there. And I was going to just read to you. It's going to be accommodating single-story multi-residential building with 1 bachelor rental and 4 one-bedroom units. And there's going to be accessible parking. And two of the apartments are going to be completely accessible. You know how we talked about the sinks and everything being lower and all of that sort of thing. So she's done that, as well as the property that's on Chambers as well, the Mills Corporation building that's going to be going up. It's another contractor that's building something that's going to be very much more accessible than the buildings that we have for people. So I think people are doing things that maybe it's just nice to deserve to be recognized for it, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you don't agree, that's okay too. I just wanted you to know that those two things are happening, because I'm not sure you were aware of it.
Wonderful. We weren't aware of that, but I certainly do think those two things are very important in if everybody else is in agreement, I do think that maybe they have a place in this document. Is everybody in agreement or anything?
I am.
Yeah,
Uh,
perfect.
Sure.
Anybody else have?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So those two, and is there any more? I know originally we had used an example of the accessibility at the old post office was one. So we could put some examples of that, and maybe just list them as examples. That way we don't offend anyone that may be doing it that we're not aware of, or that, hasn't came to council.
Yeah,
Or
that's a great idea, Nadine.
Good
Yeah, and
idea.
even having some pictures of the post office ramp and would be helpful.
Okay. Those two.
Great.
And then okay. So I think the last few items here that I'm seeking direction on is, these are the recommendations that you've brought forward throughout the last few meetings, or our last group of meetings. And so I'm just seeking your direction on them, if you want them included, or if there's any more that you want included. You'll see like that there's the accessible beach, accessible parks, things that you've talked about that you wanted council to kind of consider. At the last meeting, we had talked about including this. So these were some of the ideas. I believe like the accessible parks, Corey mentioned, keep the grass cut shorter so it's easier for wheelchairs to maneuver. Parking, obviously, the other one was to create a accessible parking space at the beach, because there currently isn't one. Just the curbs at intersections, make sure that accessibility requirements are considered when planning festival and events. And that is a policy that currently staff are working on. They brought it forward to council and it's gone back for more review. And then one of the big ones that everyone has talked about is access to the downtown storefronts, and a possibility of a ramp, or I think you'll recall that our former member Kelly mentioned Matt, and I think Councillor Allen mentioned that. So that's kind of a recommendation to see if there's an ability to do that, or, perhaps even another one would be have staff continue to monitor for accessibility grants that might help pay for some of these items. So that might be another recommendation. So just seeking your input on that and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I see Councillor McGuire had his hand up.
Thanks, Lucy. Good morning, everybody. This is really just overall great document. So much thanks to everybody that's put effort into it, and it's exciting that it's getting polished, and I think we're almost ready to go through with it. With the recommendation section, I had two ideas that I wanted to share for the committee's discussion. The first is in parks, because after we took the picture at Independent for Accessibility Week, Corey and Jennifer and myself took a walk through, I guess it would be Murphy Park, or that section between Abbott and George Street. And there's a lot of little things that come together to make that site very difficult to access. And I know when I was at the powwow on Saturday, I ran into Loretta with her walker, and she was having a really hard time getting from Duck Island to from Park Avenue. So what I was thinking is that maybe we could add a bullet on accessible parks saying the committee will continue reviewing our parks and providing additional recommendations. So this could be something that we keep working on. And I think if we look at all of our parks, it's really overwhelming. But maybe if we just take little sections at a time and come up with a list of recommendations from each little section, then we can slowly trickle those in, and maybe year over year budget wise, we can get some of that parks money going towards improving that kind of stuff. But I just want to throw that out there for discussion. And then the other one was for accessible downtown storefronts. Since we're redoing the community improvement plan right now, accessibility has been on the radar for that. And maybe we just want to add a bullet in that that the town could look at not only grants that the town can apply for to get funding for this, but also that grants the town could provide to businesses to help improve accessibility for stores. Anyway, those are two. And aside the festivals and events, the very first one on the draft policy is about accessibility. So it's front and center, and it's some really great points that the economic development and tourism departments put into there. So big, it's really great to see that, and that's a positive. So anyway, so for parks and storefronts, interested to hear.
Sure. I think both those are great ideas, and really show that open door and that continuity. And I think that's a really good thing to keep working on and always sort of think about. So thanks for that. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Or Councillor Allen? You're muted, I believe.
I agree with Councillor McGuire's comments, but I would maybe add to that too, that we think about the trails. Like we now are very connected in our parks, which, didn't used to be the case when my children were growing up. But now that we are, it would be really nice if we focused on making those trails accessible. And I know to pave them would be very expensive, but I do know that there are some of them are using certain, I don't know if it's rock or pressed rock, that makes it much more accessible than other spots where you've got big holes and, cracks all across it. So for me, if I was in a wheelchair or walking with a walker, using a park, trail would be a great way to see the park and just be with people that are using the park. But some of ours are not very accessible in that regard.
Mm.
Madam Chair, if that's supported, we could add that as its own item, accessible trails, if everyone was supported.
Sure. What does everybody think? I think that might be a good idea. The sound just broke up there for you. I believe you said you were supportive.
I am supportive of what Lorraine said, but I would also like to add off of what Chris was talking about when we went to the park. We all three of us agreed that what needs to happen down there, like something that can happen pretty quick, is we can make it so that there's at least one parking spot that's accessible, and make it so that there's a dip down on the curb so that they don't have to just go down to where Murphy's Point change rooms are to get to the beach area.
It's a good point. And I do see that there's a section in there that asks for a parking spot, and I think that's a great starting point. Got to start with one and then perhaps build up in the future. Is there anybody else?
I just want to bring up the combined lock. I don't believe that if you're have a wheelchair or even a walker, that if we're talking about trails, the combined lock, and when you walk over the old locks, you can't do it. So we would have to look at something like having a bridge built there to make that more accessible. If people would like to go down by La Boat or access the picnic tables or just walk along that area. If you want to come off and experience looking at the old lock or the combine, you can't do it.
So, Madam Chair, just on that one, Parks Canada owns some of that property there. So I'm just wondering, certainly we can include, accessible trails, and maybe, I don't know if you want to make a recommendation that the committee would support or request that council work with our stakeholders, with respect to those kind of shared trails, because some of them are Parks Canada land and some
Right.
are on municipal land.
Right. So we could be an advisor for, let's say, Parks Canada, or anybody like what you said, Nadine, anybody who shares trails with accessibility.
Okay.
Sure.
I agree with Dan.
Sounds like. Yeah.
Madam
Councillor
Chair,
Allen? Getting thumbs up from Councillor Allen. Anybody else have any thoughts? I think that's a great idea to add that point in there as well.
Councillor McGuire also has his thumbs up, so just so you know.
Perfect.
I'm also wondering if Corey can just reconfirm what he's requesting there. I'm guessing you'd like that included on the list, so I just want to make sure I have it correctly.
Yeah.
So-
Corey, if we could hear from you again, that would be great.
Yeah, so down at, I think it's Hydro Park is what I'm gonna call it. I don't know what the actual name is of it. But when you get to the waterfront, there's all curbs all the way across the parking spots. If we make one parking spot accessible and then make the curb go down so that wheelchair can go up onto the grass, that would make it accessible then to at least get to the grass area.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so if that's good, is there any more items, Madam Chair, that the committee might want to add? I can add those items and the additional bullet points.
From my perspective, I think that's a good starting point, but does anyone else have any thoughts on that? Anything else to add? Seeing
No.
none. Not that I'm seeing. I think Kevin, just confirming that you are okay with what's there and being added.
Yep.
Yeah, you're good. Okay.
So Madam
So I
Chair,
think that's good.
okay, that's good. And then, so basically the last part is just, that we'll review the document every 5 years. Certainly it'll be a working document, and this committee would always be consulted on projects with relation to the town of Smith Falls. So basically at this point in time, I'm just seeking your direction. I can add those changes and we can bring it back one more time for adoption if you like. And then it could go to council. Probably, I can't believe how fast time's going. It'd probably be July by then, but just wondering what your thoughts are on that, or
Sure.
how you want to proceed.
Sure. I think that's a good idea for now. If everybody is in agreement, we can adopt it as soon as those changes, with the understanding those changes are made, we can move forward. Anybody else have thoughts? Councillor McGuire?
No.
Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's polished and it's pretty much ready to go, and a few more edits and that'll be it. If it sounds like people are keen on taking a look at the park. And I'm wondering if in time for our next meeting, would we want to pick a spot? And if we do, I could suggest the location that we looked at the other day. If that's something, I don't know, how are people feeling? Kind of yes or no, or seeing some nodding heads. So maybe I could share my screen and just show if that would help, Lucy.
Sure, absolutely.
So just a second here, I'll get see if I can get the map up. All right, is that up for everybody right now?
It is.
Okay, so the section we took a look at the other day was Abbott Street on the left side here to where George Street kind of comes through to the park. Once we started getting past George Street, there was a whole other group of features and issues and different things over here. So we thought, okay, let's make this the next section. But this gave us a lot to think about just for the, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes we were going for our walk. So if everybody wanted to visit the park and take a look between Abbott Street and George Street before our next meeting, and then if we came up with a list of all the things that everybody can think of, then we can pass that on to the town. So for example, Corey's talking about there's a curb here in front of the parking. So there's no real way to get off the street. Also, there's not even a sidewalk on this side of the street. There's no kind of trail or sidewalk to connect these two parts. But all of this stuff, if we can kind of come up with that comprehensive list and put it all in one place and get our thoughts organized, then we can send that to the town and maybe try to get some money in the next budget to focus on some of these areas. But if we just take it one small part at a time and kind of work our way kind of through, I think that might be the most manageable way to go at it. I don't know if that's my suggestion.
Mhm.
It's a great suggestion. I think seeing it firsthand would be quite beneficial. Anybody else have any thoughts? Kevin? Kevin,
No.
do you have any thoughts?
No.
Nope, you're good. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and we can certainly move forward on see if there's a time that works for everybody, or small groups at a time, and can absolutely do that, and perhaps maybe submit their findings, and we can discuss them. All right, is everybody clear on where we're at? Yeah. Yep, everybody's good. So
Yep.
I think Nadine, would it be a good idea if they could submit their findings to you, and then we can move forward that way?
Sure, I can include them in the next draft in a highlighted version. That way, then the group can discuss them, whether they want to keep them or not. And then, at the end of the next meeting, we may have kind of a final document to bring forward to council.
Perfect.
And this committee would need to vote on that document. So I'll try to get it cleaned up and sent out to you. And then maybe if we set a timeline for those inclusions, I'll highlight them so everyone knows that those are the additions from everybody's tour of the park. And then we can, at the next meeting, if this committee supports it, they could move forward that document. So you would adopt that document at this level, and the recommendation would be to bring it forward to council.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And we can, Nadine, just confirming that Katie and Jen will have an opportunity to do that as well, and
Yeah.
just sort of bring them up to date on the park tour ideas.
Yeah, certainly I'll send out the document after the meeting as well as the action items. And then what we could do is, I don't know if the group today would like to set a deadline for that input, and then we can look at, we could do a survey of everybody to find out when our next meeting could be, because I know we're missing some members today, see when they're available as well, and get that meeting booked as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a good idea if we set sort of a deadline, just to keep everybody sort of thinking about it and on the same page. What, Nadine, do you suggest would be a good timeline for that?
Sure, no problem. So just looking at how quickly the month's going by, council will be meeting right now on July 11th and July 25th. So if we were bringing it forward, it'd be one of those meetings to council. So what we could do is, I don't know, would a week be long enough for everybody to take a tour of the park?
I think
Mhm.
So-
that's significant.
Okay, so if we set the deadline for July 22nd to have your input to go and review the park or visit the park and send your input to me. And then we can look at a meeting. I'll see when there's availability for live streaming and I'll send out a survey to everybody, but we could either look at a meeting the week of June 27th or July 4th. And then depending, we could get that report coming to council either the 11th or 25th, depending on how many changes or whatever needs to be made, but we could do our best. So I'll, if everyone's supportive of that, I can send that date out.
Sure.
Mhm.
That'd be great. Be great. Kevin, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If Nadine, if you could do that, that would be wonderful. I think we've kind of covered our discussion on our next meeting, so just confirming with everybody that I think our proceedings today are wrapping up. Is there anything else anybody has on their mind? No? Okay, so I think we can adjourn our proceedings today. So could I have someone make a motion to adjourn, please? Councilor McGuire, thank you. And could I have someone second this motion, please? Dan,
second.
thank you. All right, that wraps it all up, and we'll see you very soon. And have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.